What's going on, guys? Back with another episode on the Winning Browns podcast, episode 5, a huge milestone
Yeah.
for us. Thank you guys for supporting the channel so much, and it's gonna take a while to get to some of our goals, but I'm really impressed by the start we've had. And remember, our goal is to win over more fans, win over more subscribers than the Browns can ever win Super Bowls, and maybe one day we can win over more fans than the Browns have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sorry,
No,
Browns.
that's a challenge. That's a challenge. That's a real challenge.
But yeah, I mean, sorry, Browns fans, that we keep roasting you every week. But I mean, you guys did it
Yeah.
yourselves, so I'm sorry.
Look, you guys do take the liberty of just completely bagging yourselves on top. Look,
I
we
do.
we never did this. Cleveland Browns kind of started the whole thing with, the brown bag and then the hole in the inside looking. That was their whole thing. Look, all we're saying is you guys put yourself in the bag, you guys put yourself down the hole. Now you gotta dig yourselves out of it. We are already out of the hole. We're just trying to go outside as much as possible. That's what we're trying to do. Um, so now, look, this is a bit long overdue, and we do apologize for the long overdue video, but we promise that this video is gonna definitely uphold to our standards that we've had before, and it's gonna be a great video. So to start off, we have some news that's been there for the past few weeks. Quite shocking that these type of news come in that late, but I'm gonna head it over to my 49ers fan here. Trey Lance,
Well,
your
yeah,
boy Trey
Trey
Lance.
Lance. Um, well, this is an odd one for me. I have a bunch of mixed feelings, to be honest, about this. Um, and it's a little difficult to kind of process just his career with the Niners over the past few, or really over the past 2 years. Um, I remember when we made that trade up to pick 3, I was really shocked, a little bit reluctant, but at the same time, kind of more intrigued at what would happen next. I was not a big fan of Mac Jones. The whole rumor was that, okay, we were going to draft Mac Jones. I was not a big fan of that. I don't think that his ceiling was that much higher. Regardless of anybody's opinion on Jimmy Garoppolo, personally, I think he was a very good quarterback for us. He wasn't, the Mahomeses of the world or whatever, but he was a very serviceable quarterback for us who did what it took to win, made a lot of throws that most quarterbacks just would not be able to make. And yeah, he had his bad times, but for the most part, he helped us win in times where our team was really injured, like in 2019. Really, my only problem with him was that he kept getting hurt, though. So to me, it didn't make sense to go for a quarterback if you're going to give up that much to go for a quarterback that literally had the same ceiling at best and the same skill set as Jimmy Garoppolo. That's why I didn't want Mac Jones. My guy was Justin Fields. I thought that, okay, the Niners were going to draft Justin Fields. I was really high on Justin Fields. He was my number 2 player in the entire draft after Trevor Lawrence. Trey Lance was more of a mystery. He was really the mystery box. If any of you guys have seen Family Guy, there's this one scene where Peter and Lois are buying a boat, and the salesman says, you can have a boat or you can have this mystery box. And Lois is like, let's just take the boat we've always wanted. And Peter's like, Lois, a boat can be a boat, but this is a mystery box. It could be anything, even a boat. You know how much we wanted those. And that was literally what I felt from the Niners front office at that point. And I had a little bit of lack of trust in them. And then when Trey Lance did get drafted, I was hopeful. Now, for me, the whole thing was from before the draft, I did not feel that Trey Lance was going to be an elite quarterback because I didn't think that he had the same skills as a Mahomes or a Josh Allen. But I did think that if there was one place where he could definitely make me shut up and make me eat my words, that would be San Francisco, because he was really the perfect quarterback for Shanahan if you thought about it. He ran the football very well, right? He had a really big arm, and this was a team that had a lot of weapons that their best quality was to get open and get the ball deep. So really, to me, Lance didn't need to necessarily be this Patrick Mahomes who, when he has a battle line, he can make these incredible throws, or when he has a um, subpar group of receivers, he starts to make these spinning throws, tossing to running backs against Tampa Bay, or carrying a team on a bummed ankle against the Philadelphia Eagles, right? You didn't need to be a Josh Allen where he's running the ball all the time, or Lamar, or like being the lead rusher for his team while throwing incredible passes, or Lamar who's actually running all the time. Um, and after 2021, even though he didn't play that year, um, what Debo showed me that year made me feel that was even more possible, because Debo was really like, he was open, he was carrying the team, and really his versatility took it to a whole new level with him running the ball that much. Then I'm starting to think that, okay, with Shanahan's play calling creativity, you could see like Lance, you could see a bunch of different like innovative things with Lance and Samuel, kind of Samuel throwing the football, the Lance and Lance running the ball, all these different types of things. And I thought it was even more once we traded for Christian McCaffrey, given his versatility. Um, Going into 2022, I thought that okay, we could at least see Lance improving. After the first game, I wasn't so sure about that, but I kind of moved that aside because, we were playing in a monsoon essentially. And in the Seahawks game, I thought he played well, right? Um, he played well in his first drive, but then he got hurt, obviously, and we really didn't get to see him for a full game. And that's really where, I think it kind of changed. For the for the entirety, I would say the two things that really screwed up the Lance in general is that, number one, he was he had that broken finger in 2021, or that finger injury, which kind of screwed up his momentum. It seemed as if early on in the season they were trying to like at least get him involved in a few play calls. He played in that game against Arizona, and then he just didn't play after that, right? Until the Texans game, where I think after that, Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt, so he was playing in that game, and he played okay in that game, but he wasn't like amazing. And then he got put back on the shelf. 2022, you started seeing a little more optimism, but um, that obviously quickly diminished once he got hurt. The other thing that I think threw a wrench in everyone's plan is that Brock Purdy turned out to be as good as he did. Right? I don't think anybody except for you, which I mean that was, I don't know how the hell you managed to find out about that, but like um nobody expected him to be that good, right? Like, except for Kilish, there was nobody who thought that he would become okay, looking like the future franchise quarterback in that quick amount of time. When Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt, a lot of people thought, okay, Jimmy Garoppolo is at least good enough to, keep you winning, right? Even though a lot of people think he's terrible, right? I disagree with that, but the fact of the matter is, when he got hurt, a lot of people, including myself, were saying, "Okay, we're screwed. The Niners are really, really screwed. The only chance they have is because if Christian McCaffrey carries this team on his back." Now, Brock Purdy turned out to be better than both Garoppolo and Lance by a lot. And he was making just these incredible, incredible plays on a weekly basis. He made George Kittle look like his prime self. He made McCaffrey look even better than he was already playing. Um, and this is really where I think that's where, at that point, Lance became expendable. The other thing that I think a lot of people are missing in all of this is the fact that Shanahan had three different types of starters last year. Um, in Lance is like a run type quarterback. Like, he's closer to Cam Newton than he is Patrick Mahomes, right? Or Josh Allen, which was the comparison when he came out of college. Um, Jimmy Garoppolo is closer to, as far as skill set, a Tom Brady, a Kirk Cousins, one of those guys who's just like, he doesn't move a lot. And then Brock Purdy's like, I'll move a lot more, and but I'm not, but I'm gonna try to throw first. So he's probably the closest of those three to like Mahomes, although I wouldn't compare him to Mahomes. I wouldn't compare anybody to Mahomes. Um, but yeah, that's where I think Shanahan I mean, obviously, when you do that, you're gonna get exhausted, like having three different playbooks for three different players. And it was somewhat easier from the transition to from Lance to Garoppolo because he already had the playbook from Garoppolo from years past. But he had to create a full playbook over the offseason for Lance, which I think was still adjusting given Lance being a young quarterback. And remember, Lance did not have a lot of football experience in general, dating back to college. He had a sophomore year where he played a full 15 game slate. That was in what that was in division that was in the FCS, not the FBS. Then then junior, he just played one game because of COVID. And then he comes in the draft, he doesn't play in his rookie season, and then he gets hurt that last year. So that also kind of throws it off. So from that standpoint, when you're adjusting the playbook commonly, it gets a lot more difficult. In the case of Jimmy Garoppolo, is easier, but then in the case of Brock Purdy being him an unknown commodity, it's a little harder to transition that. But it works seamlessly for Shanahan, and you started seeing Shanahan do things with Purdy that he had never done prior. He started giving a lot more exposure to Purdy. He started giving a lot more responsibility to Purdy, and he started really adjusting his play calls each game to really suit Brock Purdy, not according to how the team played or how the other team would play, but how Purdy would play. And that's really where you started seeing that, okay, he's really, really into Purdy's play style and into that type of playbook. So that's why I think they went for Sam Darnold in the offseason. Otherwise, I don't think they would have gone for Darnold because of how well Purdy played and because of how well Shanahan fit, or how well both Shanahan and Purdy fit with each other, right? And because of that, that's why I think they went for Darnold. I think that's also partially why they preferred Darnold a little bit more than Lance. But then, of course, you hear, and I think even I saw this in the preseason, the last 10 days before Lance lost the job, was that Purdy, was that Darnold, he did win the job. He played slightly better than Lance, but he did play somewhat better. And combining all of that, I think that's why he ended up winning the job. Now, one thing I would say is that a lot of people are saying that Lance is like a historic bust and all. I don't think completely that's true. The only reason I would consider him a bust is just because they of course traded 3 first-round picks to get him. Other than that, I mean, it's really not fair to call him a bust given what he's gone through. At most, I would say Lance is kind of close to a guy like, say, Tim Couch or Vince Young or David Carr. Guys who really didn't get fair shots. Carr, I mean, he got pummeled his first year. At least with Carr, you could say, okay, he could pick up from that, and he did, right? Vince Young constantly was thrown into and then out of the starting job by Jeff Fisher. You had Tim Couch, who played really bad his first 2 years, but they had nobody in his first 2 years, and that Browns team was horrible. 2001, 2002, they start picking up, and they make the playoffs in 2002, but Tim Couch gets hurt. And when he comes back, he's not even close to the same player. He is horrible at that point, right? That's where I think Lance would be as far as bust. But to say he's on the same tier as like a Jamarcus Russell, a Ryan Leaf, or Achilles Smith, that's just, to me, that doesn't make sense. Those guys were just bad. And 2 of those 3 guys I mentioned, Leaf and Russell, were not just bad, but they were bad locker room players, bad characters as far as how they interacted with their teammates, right?
Look, I mean, I
So, like,
think,
from all of that, I
yeah,
would say that to me, I hope Lance all the best. And I think really all I would say is that, he at least gave us something, right? He wasn't a historic bust.
look, I mean, look, I know you're a 49ers fan, so there's a bit of emotion and all this stuff there. But to me, it's plain and simple. Look, the guy was definitely not the quarterback Kyle Shanahan needed. And look, Kyle Shanahan is one of the, if not the most flexible offensive playbook genius out there. I don't know what the right term is, but I'm gonna keep it as an offensive playbook genius. one of the most versatile. I mean, you look at the different quarterbacks he's worked with, different systems he's been in. It's very, very hard for a head coach, especially an offensive-minded head coach, to change his style based on a quarterback, and that's exactly what he's done. So from that point of, but even in that sense, Shanahan was never a guy to have an option type offense and was never successful with an option type offense based off their team. Nothing wrong with the team. It's just that it's not an offense that should be a option type offense. So in that regard, I always thought that look, at the same time, I think Yash has known this for quite a while. I was never high on Trey Lance. Not because he was a bad player. I was just never high on him because he was on the 49ers. I just didn't feel they would gel together with Kyle Shanahan as a head coach in terms of the type of player that he is. Now, the other thing I want to highlight is he's off to the Cowboys, and it is important because look, you can think of it as two messages. The 49ers are basically saying that here we're going to give you this garbage because you're garbage. That's what they're telling the Cowboys, and I 100% agree. I love it so much that he went to the Cowboys. I really do. Because here's the thing. When see you made a very good point in regards to Jimmy Garoppolo being the quarterback. I think he was a much better quarterback for the 49ers than Trey Lance was. Is he a better quarterback than Trey Lance? I don't know. I can't say because Trey Lance, as you said, has not had many opportunities to show it. But what you could find out with Brock Purdy that I felt was very important was this. He is, I'm not saying he's Joe Montana, but he's the Joe Montana of the 49ers for Kyle Shanahan, like Joe Montana was for Bill Walsh. They're like a perfect duo.
Not like Joe
'Cause-
Montana. I'll be honest with you about that.
Yeah, because like the thing is, Brock Purdy, he has the ability to roll out. He has the ability to throw. Here's the thing. I don't need a quarterback who's throwing 80-yard bombs every time. I don't need that. I just need a guy who's going to be able to get short passes, be able to run the ball, be able to play like. I just need a quarterback that can no, because I think honestly he's not the biggest deep throw guy. If I can
Right.
get short
You still
yardage
need
and
to
then move
be
the
able
ball
to
down the
throw the
field.
deep ball, especially in this day and age.
I mean, sure, but Kyle Shanahan doesn't need it. That's my point. See, I don't care what the other team does. Mike Tomlin has a great line where he says, "To me, everybody else on the other side of the field are just gray faces."
Yeah.
You don't care about who's on the who's doing this, who's doing that. I mean, it's factual, because the thing is, Brock Purdy, he can throw short passes because you have guys who are speed, who are quick, who are, very athletic from the receiver standpoint. George Kittle, I mean, what else is there to say, right? You have CMC, who is beast on every level of receiving and running the ball. So in that sense, I just feel offensively, you don't have to be a Patrick Mahomes for the 49ers offense. You just need to be Brock Purdy. And I think it's a perfect duo. And Sam Darnold's a closer version of Brock Purdy than Trey Lance is. And I think that's why they traded him and went away. So that's my standpoint on it. It's not really a shock to me, but I'm just happy he went to the Cowboys because I didn't think it was just going to gel with.
100%. That's what I love. That's the whole Dak thing that's going on. Um,
Yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
love. Like,
Now, look. I mean, we spoke on the 49ers. Now, there is another thing that has come up, and I'm gonna name this the Jets Jeopardy. Okay, so the reason why I call it Jets Jeopardy is this: simply,
do do do
it's
do 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 do
hey,
do.
we just heard back tune music by Mr. Yash Talawkar. Okay, back to the point. Um, Look, Corey Davis has now set on his retirement from the New York Jets, and apparently that has caused a bit of stigma, or should I say jeopardy, with the receiver position, and where Devontae Adams and Mike Evans are apparently in very close talks with the New York Jets. Here's my point. I'm like, how many stars do you need? Like, seriously, you got Aaron Rodgers, you got pretty much the entire Green Bay Packers receiver core on your team. You got McCole Hardman, Mr. Speed Burst all day, every day. You have an offensive line, which is they're pretty much their only flaw on their entire offense from a roster standpoint. They're just not at the same level as everybody else in the position. You have Dalvin Cook, who's been he had a down year last year, relatively, but
Five
he's still
for
been a
1,200
beast.
yards.
But I mean, that's still considered a down year. That's my point.
Yeah, but yeah,
1,200 yards is considered a down year, right? With all that being said, voice break, my bad. With all that being said, right? The thing that I'm saying is like you really need another guy on the offense. I'm like, and I go back to this. when the Los Angeles Rams won the championship, yeah, remember that offense had so much talent. They brought in OBJ, receiver after receiver, the quarterback Matthew Stafford. Obviously, Cooper Cup went another level that no one expected. Let's be honest, no one expected a triple crown. But I mean, like they brought in so many people. But another thing that I want to bring you to is a lot of people, a lot of teams that just bring in a lot of people. As quick as they get them, they quickly lose them. It's like that, like one season and then they're gone. That's how it happens most of the time in the NFL. So if they're gonna bring in another star receiver and then this and that, I'm like, it's like it's like Dory. She has like short-term memory loss. These guys are gonna have a short-term winning streak. They're gonna lose it at the end. You realize Aaron Rodgers does not have 10 years. He's gonna play maximum 3 years. I feel he's gonna play maximum 3 years. He's not gonna stick
Yeah,
out for
I mean,
45. Try to
play
be
less given like
maybe
he's
less.
kind of
You're
got
right.
less he's kind of, if you've seen, his mobility is kind of diminished when once that athleticism really tapers, and then arm, you start
Yeah.
seeing quarterbacks drop like crazy. Philip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger.
I mean, well, both of them are completely different quarterbacks, granted, but just for any quarterback at any level, it other than Tom Brady, who is GOAT, but like it's just not really possible with all the arm strength, as you said, and all the athletic ability. But I just feel like you don't need. I mean, if you want to take it, sure, go for it. But like, I just feel like it's gonna die out at some point. Like, you do have to realize after Rodgers is 3 years, who's your next quarterback? Zach Wilson? You think he's gonna be able to?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing though. Zach Wilson has been playing well in the preseason. I mean,
That's okay. No, 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 no,
I
no,
get
no.
it's the preseason, but like, here's the thing. What really interests me is like Aaron Rodgers' impact on him, and I think that's another talking point for the Jets. Given like, I mean, this is to me a different Aaron Rodgers than we've seen in past with the Packers, and I'm not even going to go into the whole like the vaccine stuff and the the conspiracy theories, all that. But like, just the fact like there were rumors that he was a bad teammate where he to the point where he was getting lazy a little bit, kind of he was kind of being a little more
Exception.
complacent, right? He
Yeah.
had standoffs with the executive, and regardless of what that was, I think there were times where we could see that that was affecting his relationship with the locker room. He had, of course, the injuries. He was and this is might be something that not everyone disagrees with, but he had like the long hair thing, which and like the shabby beard. The reason I'm bringing that up because in New York City, you do that with the media attention you get. Sometimes that can kind of like piss off the media, especially like in baseball because of the Yankees. If you ever heard of the Steinbrenner rule, where you have to be practically clean shaven, um, it's
Really?
kind of a big thing in New York City. So I think all of that, you see him come to New York City, have he has great relationships with some of his new teammates, including Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, etc., taking them to other sporting
Yeah.
events, Rangers games, Knicks games, etc. You're looking at kind of the defense he's had against some of his coaches and all that, the hard work he's put in. I mean, you're seeing a little bit of a different Aaron Rodgers. He's not as standoffish, and I think that's.
Hmm.
And then of course the impact he's had on Zach Wilson. You didn't see that as far as talking standpoint, and as far as how Jordan Love played. Jordan Love was really his own guy whenever he played it with the Packers. He wasn't an emulation of Aaron Rodgers. Zach Wilson really has been, where it's like that's where I think you're seeing. I'm not saying that's a necessarily wrong thing with Jordan Love, but like it's interesting because I think that kind of shows the leadership of Aaron Rodgers, and I really think that that's an interesting thing because especially for me, given I've this, and I've been on this train for a while. The Jets are going to go as far as Aaron Rodgers takes them, right? If
Yeah. Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers plays
Mhm.
elite, this is a Super Bowl contender, maybe the best team in the AFC. Chiefs are there, but I mean, on paper, they are really good,
No,
right?
you could argue.
Yeah.
See the
If
thing is,
Aaron Rodgers plays
with the
like
Jets.
they're missing the playoffs. Not even a question to me.
Okay, here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers, okay, the reason why I think people have even had the thought of Aaron Rodgers playing trash is because of last season. You
Yeah.
have to remember, he was a straight twice in a row MVP over Patrick Mahomes. Let's just put that out the way. I disagree on one of the MVPs where he got over Brady after throwing 5,000 yards in like his second to last season. I personally disagree with that. At that age of a quarterback throwing that many, I thought he should have won MVP. But regardless, you're still a two-time MVP and you're playing at such a high caliber level. Last season was a different story. It's from a political standpoint, just his relationship with the Green Bay Packers and everything. I think last year Aaron Rodgers couldn't be Aaron Rodgers. That's what I feel. So with here, I think he's still going to dominate here, regardless. And as you said, he is a Super Bowl. They will be a Super Bowl contender. My only point is the whole Zach Wilson thing. Sure, I mean he is. Has he improved overall? Does he not look as scared? Does he not? Like when because I was frustrated with Zach Wilson when he played in the NFL
Yeah.
because the thing is this: I've never been a Zach Wilson fan. Yash knows this. I've never been a Zach Wilson fan. I just never like. I don't know. It's not like a Joe Burrow thing where like I just don't like him because I don't like him. I've seen the tape. I'm just not a big fan. Overall, but like it's just when he was now in the preseason. Yeah, I mean, definitely looks smarter as a quarterback. The IQ has definitely gone up. He sees different things, and that's definitely Aaron Rodgers' influence. But I mean, at the same time, like the dude's played in the NFL. He's played against the big dogs. So when you're playing against the small dogs, obviously you're going to look better. That's my. I mean, look. Yes, it's preseason. He looks much more. He looks better. But is he going to be the Aaron Rodgers level type quarterback after
No.
Aaron Rodgers leaves? No. And
Well,
you
that's
need.
not what I'm really
I think
saying.
you need
I'm
it.
saying it shows kind of Rodgers' leadership, and I think that's testamental to how the Jets played this season. You get what I'm saying?
Look, I mean, okay, you make a fair point, but I'm just not high rolling on the idea of Zach Wilson playing
Yeah, I mean,
like
I agree with you there. I'll say
it,
that.
it's not the biggest difference. I guess the only point that I was thinking about in regards to Corey Davis's retirement is two things actually. Number one, I think Mike Evans would be the more reasonable pick to go because I think he will be more inclined to come because he knows when Tom Brady is playing, it's a different
Right.
game. So when Aaron Rodgers is playing, it's probably also a different game, and I think it'll suit more to his liking with Aaron Rodgers. And then but Devontae Adams may be a bit of a stretch, but who knows? It might happen. Um, the other thing is just really how tough the NFL is. Corey Davis, retiring is a bit of a shock because and there are players who come into the rookie season and then retire. I think it goes unspoken, like look, me and you dislike the Cowboys all the time. We love Stephen A. Smith going on his Cowboy runs. We like it. But at the same time, when I start thinking about these things and like we start blaming Dak on this or Zeke on this or Kellen Moore on this, I now when I look at this, like I kind of think to myself, as much as the Cowboy fans are sometimes disgusting and overhyping the team, this is a tough league, man. Like the amount of things that go into processing, the amount of things you process, the things you look at, everything is so tough. So when they don't live up to the level that they're put on the field in front of hundreds and thousands of fans, it's tough. So I think like I have a much greater respect for those individuals who are pulling off like insane numbers, um, and just I mean are being beasts like Aaron Rodgers. Speaking of Aaron Rodgers. I do want to come back to this. I promised you guys last time we had a whole 2-hour video, and Yash broke the video by putting Brock Purdy at number 6.
No,
He
I did
broke it.
not. I did not.
You broke it. Stop it. You
No,
broke
I
it.
did
But
not.
we are back. We are back with quarterback rankings, and we just spoke about this man. You guys already know who it is. Number 8 for the New York Jets, Mr.
Number
Aaron
seven.
Rodgers.
That was number seven. That was number seven. Yes, it
He's
was.
number 8 for the New York
Oh,
Jets.
gotcha. I'm sorry.
You split up my headline. That was gonna be it.
Yeah,
Man, oh my
my
god.
bad. Go ahead. Go
Okay,
ahead.
no, 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 no. You messed it up. It's fine. It's fine. It's cool. It's cool. It's
Yeah,
cool.
okay.
Mr. Aaron Rodgers, I have ranked him at number 7, but he is number 8 for which team, Yash?
The New York Jets.
There we go. Beautiful. Okay. I
Gotcha.
mean, we already spoke about this guy. Beast. He is that bad man that Stephen A. Smith always talks about. Look, great addition to the New York Jets. He's gonna explode off, I think, this season. He's gonna make Patrick Mahomes literally pay his bills. Literally, for that amount of money that he got, he's gonna make him pay his bills. Um, I mean, goes without saying, the bad man is in town.
Yep. Um, for me, I mean, at number 8, this is another shocker. Not nearly as much of a shock, I don't think, at least to Akilesh, as Brock Purdy. We got into
Nothing,
an argument.
nothing will be a shock as Brock Purdy at number 6.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
Braden agreed on that. Remember that? But this is the one that's gonna shock Braden, I think. At number 8,
Braden did not agree to number 6 at Brock Purdy.
no,
He
no, no,
just
he
said
did
you
not
had
agree to
bias.
that. But this one's good. He given his opinion on this quarterback, he's gonna disagree on this more. And for those of you who don't know who we're talking about, Braden is one of our classmates. He despises, or at least thinks that this quarterback, and I'll say who it is, Tua Tagovailoa, is not even a
Oh my
top
God!
quarterback.
No way you did it! No, 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 no,
Yes,
no.
he is number 8
You
for 2023. Going in, or for 2023, because this is a 2023 predictions list, I am going to put Tua Tagovailoa at number 8. And I think this is absolutely, absolutely. Maybe the Brock Purdy was a little outlandish. This one I don't think is nearly, not even close to outlandish. Tua Tagovailoa was an MVP candidate when he was healthy. I get the health is
Oh my
huge, huge.
God!
And no, I mean,
No,
look at the MVP odds when he was on the field. That he was one of the top 3 candidates at MVP almost every time. I don't. Oh, you're putting AP literature in front of me. Oh, world literature. Oh, dude. Oh, you're putting. God. Oh man, you're putting Epic of Gilgamesh. Nah, man. No, but genuinely, I don't think this is outlandish at all, and I'll give you why. Tua Tagovailoa was the number 1 in a ton of advanced stats last year. He was number 1 in passer rating, okay, in whatever number he played. 105.5 passer rating, leading the league. He had 13.7 yards per pass completion per pass completion rate. Yards per pass attempt, 8.9, number 1 in the league. Okay, adjusted yards per pass attempt, 9.22, number 1 in the league. Net yards per pass attempt, 8.04, number 1 in the league. Adjusted net yards per pass attempt, 8.37, number 1 in the league. Passing touchdown percentage, 6.3 percentage. Number
right,
1,
man. We
tied for
got the
number 1 in the
numbers. We
league.
got the numbers. Chill, chill. We got the numbers
I'm
down.
going. I'm
Look,
going for this. You do not. You put an 8. You put Epic of Gilgamesh in front of me. I'm sorry, but that book is not worthy of talking about why Tua
yeah,
Tagovailoa is number 8.
no. First of all, this is much more entertaining than Tua
Oh,
Tagovailoa being like,
really?
yeah, he looks.
He's just number 1 in every stat. I'm sorry. I mean, what can you do? It's true. I mean, Tua Tagovailoa was an MVP candidate. He was incredible as far as his deep ball accuracy last year. Do not cry, man. But no, Miami Dolphins have their franchise quarterback. That's set in stone. And I'm not putting him number 3, number
Yeah,
4.
yeah,
I'm
and
saying
and and
Tagovailoa
they had their
has
franchise quarterback, and
and what is there more
that's
to
it. That's my
say?
point.
He's
That's
the
my point. You
he's
have your franchise quarterback. Does that mean he's a top like the number 8?
in this
Dude,
case,
okay,
yes.
you
If
know what?
he's
No, no,
number
no,
1
no,
in
no, no,
every
no, no.
stat,
Okay,
yes.
let me stop. Let me
I mean,
stop. Let
that's
me stop. Let me
prime
stop.
for you have to admit
Okay,
that. When you're number 1 in almost
dude,
every stat, that's prime for some sort of breakout if he hasn't already had that.
okay, look, look, I don't know. Tua Tagovailoa when he gets sacked looks like Kwame Brown going for a jump shot. It looks disgusting. Okay, I mean, just there's just a couple of things. Okay, but I'm just gonna say this: Tua Tagovailoa by any means is not a bad quarterback. I think he's a fairly good quarterback. Is he deserving of number 8 over the next guy I'm about to say? No way. Mr. Lamar Jackson deserves the number 8 spot more than this guy. Look, you know me. I'm not the biggest Lamar Jackson type guy, but at the same time, like Tua over Lamar? No, Lamar's proven himself already.
Man,
Look, look. I mean, come. I don't. Okay, I'm good. Lamar Jackson, first of all, probably the like the more of like the you know type of option type quarterback. If you want to put like a model on it, he's more of the option type quarterback that so many offenses are trying to emulate, or the 49ers try to emulate, but they failed because Lamar Jackson is a truly a Dallas Cowboy garbage. Um, but look, I think that I mean not Lamar Jackson, my bad. Trey Lance. So excuse me. Trey Lance is a Dallas Cowboy now. But I think personally, Lamar Jackson, first of all, much better quarterback than oh my God, Lamar Jackson is a much better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa. For now, I can't even speak. That's how blinded I am by that statement. But um, look, I think that overall Lamar Jackson definitely one of the great players. As you mentioned, with Lamar Jackson, they look like going into the playoff type team, Baltimore Ravens, and I really don't know how Harbaugh is still doing it. I mean, really, he's not talked about enough. He's doing a great job, really, as a head coach there at Baltimore for so many years. And I think overall, he's just those quarterbacks that you don't know really how to stop. You don't know how to put that stop button on him. But I think he's just prone to break out the season, and I think he's gonna prove a lot of people wrong. I think he's gonna prove a lot of people wrong. Put Baltimore in a place where you're gonna respect them.
I get your point. I mean, I do, and I've said myself, Lamar is a very, very elite quarterback, and I do think he's better at this current moment than Tua. My only thing is just that Tua, I think when you look at his stats, he's been better as far as his passing goes, and has shown the ability, when healthy, to be able to pass more efficiently at any throw, from deep ball to a touchdown in the red zone, etc. I don't think
Look, see,
Lamar's shown that. His numbers have kind of
okay. I will set aside one thing. See, this is why I'm saying comparing quarterbacks to Lamar Jackson is not the easiest thing to do.
yeah, that's true.
And I'll say this because Tua Tagovailoa doesn't run like Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson doesn't throw like Tua.
Exactly. Yeah,
Tua doesn't throw like you see what I mean? There has to be a distinction between Lamar Jackson and other quarterbacks in general. The thing that I can say that one of the few things you can only compare with is the effect that it has on the overall team. This is my standpoint. With Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle as receivers on your team, any quarterback is going to look better. Any quarterback is going to look better. With one of you can look at Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill as probably both of them respectively as top 10 or top 15 receivers in the league, if not at least top 15 receivers in the league, both of them. So with that standpoint, from that standpoint, Tua Tagovailoa obviously is going to be much better. But is he as deserving as being a better quarterback or a higher respected quarterback than Lamar Jackson? Because let's be honest, when you say better, it means highly respected at the same time. Let's just be honest, right?
right.
So if from that standpoint, um, I just feel like right now it's a bit unfair. Just in terms of because I've told it many times, Lamar Jackson has a great arm, but he doesn't have the receivers who can allow himself to show the great arm. That's why they have to run the ball all the time. They don't have another option. Really, I mean, they've lost a lot of speed from a personal receiver wise. So, with all that being said, I just think Lamar Jackson is more deserving of a higher place than Tua Tagovailoa. But that is the rankings for now.
Yeah. For me, 10. This is a tricky one, just given I think there are a lot of quarterbacks that you can put at 10 for a variety of different reasons. If you're looking at how well someone played last year, you could say a guy like Jared Goff. You're looking at weapons, you can probably say a guy like
Okay.
Geno Smith. If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, you're
Yeah.
definitely going to say Dak Prescott. Um, you're
Look, and credit to the Dallas Cowboys fans. When I was initially thinking about this, I was about to put Dak. But then I
that's
thought to myself, like, no, Dak Prescott, 12 points against the Niners with that defense playing as good as it did. I
yeah.
mean,
I
come
mean,
on.
and there are other guys like if you're talking preseason, Kenny Pickett had one of the most perfect preseasons ever. You're talking about breakouts, Justin
Oh,
Fields, right?
God. Please.
But to me, I'm gonna be more sensible on this. I'm gonna pick Trevor Lawrence. Um,
Thank you. Yeah, there we go. That's all I want.
okay.
Josh, we have agreed. We have agreed. There has been a truce. This is the revolution, the American Revolution. This is revolution for us. We've definitely come to a consensus. Take it away.
Um,
Thank
well,
God.
okay, here's the thing. No.
Yeesh. I thought I was about to pull out another tissue box.
He was
Like
playing
yeesh.
like
The
I mean,
whole
this is
rant.
they're in the lot. I mean, okay, here's partially why. I said before this, I'm always going to prioritize the young quarterback and the best young quarterback in the bunch. Trevor Lawrence has a high upside of any of the young quarterbacks that I don't think have truly broken out into that truly elite tier. Lawrence has the potential to
Yes.
be in that tier with Mahomes and Allen and all. But to me, I think
Okay.
no, he does. He does have that potential. Whether he
Not
reaches that or not
Mahomes.
is a different discussion. But he has that potential, and he improved a lot as the season went on last year. We talk about Joe
Facts.
Burrow, and he wasn't on the same tier as Burrow from 2021 as he gradually got better. But like in
Mhm.
20,
But okay, okay.
Lawrence,
The argument is there. Burrow had Jamar Chase, who had one of the best rookie
exactly.
seasons
But
by a
this is where
receiver
I'm
of all
going to
time.
be going here. He's going to get back Calvin Ridley. And this is something that in recent days, I've thought about a little bit more. It's intriguing. ESPN released an article that talked about who's the most likely receiver to break Calvin Johnson's current day receiver, who is most likely to break Calvin Johnson's record of 1,964 yards in a season, right? And they brought out a bunch of different factors. But when it came down to the top, I think 8 or 9 receivers, the first 8 weren't really surprising. They were Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, the Jeffersons, the Diggs, and the Browns of the world, right? But the one that intrigued me was Calvin Ridley. Ridley has, to me, been generally an underrated receiver, but Keelish. Okay. Yeah. Well, Ridley to me has generally been an underrated receiver. The thing about him is that I don't ever I would have never considered him to be a top 10 receiver. I'd have considered him more to be like right outside the top 10. Um, but that I think really intrigued me because if you have a guy like that, we saw with what Diggs went from in Minnesota to what he became in Buffalo. To me, I think that if Calvin really can truly do that for Trevor Lawrence, it's going to help both players. Um, I'm a little concerned about the rest of the receiving core for Lawrence, but the way he played last year, specifically his potential, um, I think all of that in combination, I would definitely have him 10. I think 10 is a reasonable place to put him. So yeah, I mean, as far as the quarterbacks go, I mean that was a very, very interesting list. A lot of different taste buds, I would say, a lot of different or sorry, a lot of different flavors. But yeah, we got a couple
Yeah.
new rankings.
Flavors that were ridiculous. That's what it was for some of these. But
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
I can't say anything wrong about myself. I did put my boy at 5, but
You did. Justin Herbert is your boy. You know that, right?
well, I mean, is he more deserving of 5 than Brock Purdy at 6? Yes.
That yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
okay, but moving on, I think we'll have a list that's a little bit more um it's a
I
little
think we'll agree on this a lot more. I
yeah,
think we
we'll
will.
argue on this one a lot more. So we
And
got
personally,
defensive ends.
like personally, bro, this list. First of all, to me, regardless of what you say, quarterbacks, we idolize these people, put them on the pedestal of all pedestals in the football pedigree, if you will. And I don't like that. Defensive ends are the most wonderful position in the entire NFL. That's the
You're a
greatest
sadist.
position
You are a
in the NFL.
sadist.
That is the greatest position in the NFL. They control the entire game. To me. That's all I'm saying. To me, nastiness, but at the same time, they're smart. I mean, you really think about it. Like defensive backs don't have a chance if their defensive line is not good enough. I'm just saying. They don't stand a chance. And quarterbacks, your ribs are gone. So I'm just saying, defensive ends, beautiful. Just I love the position. It's my favorite position. So I'm hyped up about this list more than any other list that we have. So to start off, okay. Now, when I say now, we're gonna talk about defensive ends. Now, I will classify defensive ends as a 3-4 linebacker, which means a guy who can attack from the outside, more often than he does go into a coverage or zone coverage. If he does as a linebacker, if we're calling him an edge, but if he does do zone, he goes out in the flat or on both sides of the hash, if you will. So that's the type of edge we're defining if it comes to the linebacker perspective. And it's important because the number one edge in the league right now, without a doubt, going into the season, is Mr. TJ Watt. This guy, I remember. So as you guys, I've told you probably like a lot of times by now in this fifth episode, I have not been very good with my draft pick. Like grade, not grades wise, but like how they will end out in the future. I don't do generally good. I was insane with Brock Purdy, as you all know, Yosh Doubter. But anyway, um, TJ Watt was one of the guys that I was very high on. His college tape doesn't nearly match up to what he's been able to do in the NFL right now, but I mean, the guy had insane strength. See, the difference, I'll say this. I remember comparing JJ Watt and TJ Watt years later in college tape after they were both in the NFL. The difference that I saw was JJ Watt, first of all, immense strength, immense strength. People forget about how dominant this guy was. I mean, 22 and a half
Box
sacks,
jump
20 plus
60
sacks.
inches. He could box jump 60
Yeah.
inches and ran like a 4.7 40 as a 290
In,
pound man.
Imagine putting a WWE player and make him run a 40-yard dash
Oh, it's
in
better
less
than
than
that.
five.
It's like if you had Arnold Schwarzenegger at his prime in bodybuilding, if he was
That's
running
okay.
like
That's even a
like
better example.
like
I'll give it to you.
Noah Lyles.
Yeah. I
Like
mean, it's crazy. Like JJ Watt, first of all, by a physical specimen. I mean, he's insane. The thing I saw with TJ Watt was it's JJ Watt's strength, not full strength, but some of his strength with speed and agility. How do you stop that? As an offensive tackle, you can't stop that. You put a teeny tiny running back on him, he doesn't stand a chance. Like you can put the best fullback on him, Kyle Juszczyk, who I personally think is the best fullback. He won't stand a chance. Nothing against Juszczyk, he's just TJ Watt. That's the level where TJ's at. And this season, actually, if you look at statistically, which I don't bring up, but statistically, when TJ Watt was on the Steelers, they were 8-2. Think about that for a second. This Steelers team with Mike Tomlin, who, first of all, I mean, 15 years without losing record, I mean, just like you're all, I mean, really jaw dropping. For the NFL to have 15 straight seasons of wins, it's crazy. 8-2 without him. Just imagine this team now with TJ Watt for full 17 games. That's going to be scary. So the other thing about TJ Watt that I want to bring up, other than his overall factor and presence on the team, is the ability to allow his other teammates to give pressure to the quarterback is the most important factor, I feel, from TJ Watt's game. The moment he attacks outside or he comes inside, Cameron Hayward, first, I mean, great defensive tackle, as we've mentioned before in our episodes. If you haven't seen it, watch it right now. Good video. Cameron Hayward, if you look at a lot of it, TJ Watt will be on the outside. They'll bring pressure to the outside. Cameron Hayward go. It's a very classic combination. They call it the X or X stunt, where essentially you create an X like this. Cameron Hayward will come to the outside and then get the quarterback, or someone on the others, or Alex Hingsmith. See, the Pittsburgh defense. I mean, I know you were talking about Kenny Pickett being the all-star or the breakout kind of quarterback for them, but I feel this defense is just going to go to another level because Alex Hingsmith has proven himself. So TJ Watt, number one edge, without a doubt. Love the guy when he plays. I'm gonna end it off there.
Well, for the sake of talking about who's the best defensive or the edge in the game, I would probably agree with you. Given that this is about who's it going to be in 2023, I slightly disagree with you there just because, as you know, I'm the guy who always goes for the younger guy that generally breaks out that much.
Sure.
But it's a
That's
good,
fair.
you made a lot of valid points. I mean, Watt, as you said, I mean, his impact on the Steelers was definitely pretty obvious. And when you have a fully broken out Alex Highsmith and a Cam Hayward who's pretty much aged like fine wine, and a secondary that's improved massively. I mean, you got a lot of talent on that defense, and I completely agree with you that Steelers defense is going to be a huge reason to why they do well if they do well this year. And I think I've been on notes saying that I think this is one of the most dangerous and most fascinating teams in the game right now, from just a football standpoint. And I'm really excited to see what it is. But that being said, This guy has been one of the best edge rushers, best players on defense in general in his first 2 seasons. As such a young player, you don't see this often. The last guy to have Keelish, you're muted. You're muted.
Oh, my bad. Does it have anything to do with the symbol behind you? This player.
Well, one of them does. The other one, I think you know who the other one is.
Wait, wait, wait. He's not the guy you're talking about right now.
No, he is one of them is. There are two players I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, is this guy number 97?
97? No. Actually, even further back than that. Number 99.
Wait, 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 wait. 99. What? Wait. Well, why am I blinking?
You don't remember, man? You got Mr. Bowman and Mr. Willis in the middle. You got Justin Smith in the middle of the front line, and then you got Ahmad Brooks and Aldon Smith. I was talking about Aldon Smith.
Dude, we're talking about now.
Yeah,
You
no,
confused me. Stop.
I'm talking about the last guy to ever do what Micah Parsons has done in his first 2 seasons.
Oh, okay. So it's Micah
Yeah,
Parsons who's second.
yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Oh,
Von
okay,
Miller
okay.
was the only other guy I would have thought of in that conversation. That was the other second guy I was thinking of.
Wow. So you're
And
actually putting Micah Parsons. You're putting a
yeah,
Dallas
Micah
Cowboys head
Parsons.
right
Yeah,
now?
yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Micah
Wow.
Parsons has been that good, and he's really, really impressed me. And given what Dan Quinn
I don't blame
has
you.
done on that defense, given what
Yeah.
the talent that Jerry Jones has accumulated on defense, I'm not saying that they're going to win a Super Bowl because obviously they're not. Cowboys fans
Yeah,
don't hate us, but
yeah,
that's
yeah,
true.
yeah. I'm
But
sorry, guys. I mean, the only thing you guys can really look forward to is Michael Irvin on with Skip Bayless now. That's probably your best bet.
you could also look forward to Micah Parsons. I'm sorry, but the fact of the matter is, this man was top 3 in PFF grade last year. He had the second most pressures, the second most QB hits of any player in the game last year. And he's been top 3 in practically every deep or every edge rushing metric out there. When you look at
Yeah,
all the technicality stuff that Akilesh was talking about with TJ Watt, there's similar attributes to Micah Parsons' game, right? You talk about the twist that he is able to manipulate and the ability he has to look at the offensive line and be able to figure out where the hell to go. I think that's really, really developing in his game. And I think has gotten to a really elite level. And a lot of people forget this, but Micah Parsons was originally a middle linebacker for Penn State.
yeah,
And
yes,
they were
yes.
planning on having him as a middle linebacker in Dallas. But of course, they still had
Thank God,
Vander Esch,
thank God.
still had then they drafted who was it? I think it was either Jabril Cox or Damon Clark. I don't remember.
You know, it's actually interesting, Yash, that it's actually interesting that you bring up. Dallas has had a history of actually taking middle linebacker college players and making them Hall of Fame defensive
Yeah,
tackle
I
players.
noticed that too.
Um, yeah, one of them, obviously, the great Mr. Randy White.
Yep.
Um, I mean, you really can't say anything more. Um, Interestingly, Bob Lilly was actually a middle linebacker in
Really?
college. Coming into the
Oh
NFL, he
wow.
was a middle linebacker. Yeah, I mean, he played both middle linebacker and defensive, and that too. That was a different era of football where it was like you play both sides of the ball all the time.
Right.
But they just have a history of doing these things, and from that perspective, also just like I mean, we hate the Cowboys, yes, but at the same time, I gotta give them respect in that regard, taking players out of position and then applying them in this position. And
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, they have a keen eye, I guess, in that way.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best, but like that, I mean, that's what I mean, all of that, when you put all of that together with just the analytical perspective and just his ability to really read the football field from all these different ways and really be that versatile, I think that's the other thing that probably makes him more important to me as far as that Dallas defense goes. And that's why I think if he really like takes that next step, if he's this good already, where he's a top 5 defensive end in a game in his first 2 seasons, and he takes what most third year players do and jumps even further. I mean,
Yeah,
the sky is the limit for him. I mean, he
yeah,
has immense amount of talent. He's way better than I thought he was going to be coming out of college, and I had him really high on my draft board. He was like,
me too.
I think my number 5 or number 6 player on my draft board, and I mean, he's been even better than that. So I really am excited for what Micah Parsons can bring this year. And remember, a lot of people forget if Micah Parsons does that well, there are other players on that defense who are going to be feeding off of that. You talk about a Trayvon Diggs, who, when he's more focused on being a lockdown player, doesn't get as many interceptions, but he's still one of the
But he's a
best
better,
ball hawking
yeah,
quarterbacks in the game.
exactly.
You make
Yeah.
Micah Parsons going to force a lot of bad plays. As I said, the quarterback hits numbers are huge. If that happens, quarterbacks are going to make a lot of big plays. Guys like Trayvon Diggs and Malik Hook, or not Malik Hooker, J-Ron Curse, and
Hmm.
players like that, they're going to be, and now Stephon Gilmore, they're going to be feeding off of that. And they're going to get a lot of
Yeah.
big plays, passes defended, and interceptions. And I think that could be key for seeing how well the Dallas defense plays and maybe the overall team.
Yeah. I mean, couldn't have said it better. Truly, the D is back in Dallas. They have been good defensively. I mean, Stephen A. Smith, I remember him. With we love watching Stephen A. Smith after a Cowboys loss, but he admitted one thing that we all had to admit, that when the Niners won that game, that defense played like a championship defense. That was extremely well played defensive game from that standpoint. So completely agree with you with Micah Parsons there. But number three, I am going with your man, your boy, number 97, Mr. Nick Bosa. Um, First of all, I mean, his rookie season impressed me so much. I mean, I remember that game where he went into Carolina, and I think he had like 3 sacks and interception or something. I
Yeah,
mean, the
that
pick six or
interception is
something,
so
right?
iconic. That is
I
so
mean,
iconic.
that's for a rookie to do that. I mean, you're talking crazy.
Chef's kiss. Mwah.
It's insane. Yeah, chef's kiss, if you will. Going back to taste.
It
Um,
exactly is.
well, we're still continuing on the pun trend, I see. Look, I think Nick Bosa, without a doubt. I mean, the interesting thing is, if you guys have seen this thing called A Football Life, it's a documentary series about different people from football, notably Bill Belichick. And there was this video on Nick Saban, episode on Nick Saban, where James Harrison, or not James Harrison, I'm forgetting his name, from the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, Jason Taylor.
Jason Taylor. There we go. Jason Taylor. He was a pure defensive end, down lineman, two technique, three technique, or if you will. He came inside. That's what he was doing. When Nick Saban came there, he said you're playing 3-4 linebacker, and he didn't know what to do. And he talked with Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick being the greatest defensive minded coach of all time, he told him from an upright position, with your skill and everything like that, you're gonna dominate, and that's what he did. He was more dominant than ever with Nick Saban there. So it's interesting to me. I think about what would Nick Bosa be in an upright position type player. Would he be more dominant? I don't think so. Interestingly, I don't think so. I think he's more of a dominant player, ground up, and he helps the entire defense as well. I'm a very big. How do you improve your team from being a good defense to a dominant defense? And Nick Bosa is like the X factor, if you will, for that defense. I mean, he can go inside, outside. Honestly, you could put him at like a Sam or Will linebacker, if you will. He could probably play. He could probably play. Athletically, I mean, amazing. Um, I mean, sometimes you look at a player and just like, what can I say about them? He's one of those guys that you don't really know what to say. But other than that, I mean, fantastic. Just really a fantastic player in all measures.
I mean, you said it best. And as a 49ers fan, I could say a lot more about Nick Bosa. But this is all I'm gonna say. You and I are both Hindu, so I'm gonna give our audience a prayer. Lord Ganesha, um, Lord Vishnu, everyone else, please, please let the 49ers sign number 97. Please let them sign him to a massive 5-year extension and make him the highest paid defensive end on the planet. Ever, ever. Okay? Thank you. Please. Thank you. Please, God, I really beg of you. Please,
Wow.
number 97 on the field week 1 with a 5-year extension, making him the highest
Wow.
defensive player in the history of the game.
Wow.
That's
I
all I
mean,
gotta say on that. Anyways,
okay.
moving to
I'm
number
handing it
4.
over to you.
I would here's the thing. You and I have had talks about this before, and I know you really love this player. So I was a little surprised you didn't have him number three, but I'm glad you put my guy. But yeah,
Yeah,
at number four, I'm gonna go Miles Garrett. He has been
yeah,
probably the most consistent defensive
respectful.
in football ever
Hmm.
since he entered the league, frankly. Um, what he's done from 2019 onwards has just been nothing short of remarkable. Um, I mean, he's put up double-digit sack numbers each of those years, has been top 10 in pressures, top 10 in practically every defensive metric. And you talk about the impact that he has on a Browns defense that's rather been lackluster. Um, 2 of the 3 years that they had, or 2 of the years that they had Joe Woods, or 2 of the 3 years,
Hmm.
sorry, that they had Joe Woods as their defense coordinator, they had a top 10 defense, in spite of the fact that many people criticize that defense for being poorly
Yeah,
schemed and for having a rather lackluster core behind the defensive end, and frankly, even on the defensive line. Um, that I think just goes to show you Myles Garrett's impact on that team when they can still be that good statistically. Um, I mean, that goes to show you that really he's impacting his teammates, and I think that goes to show that definitely can be proven by the fact that he's the second most double team player in in
yeah,
football or
yeah.
in on the defensive line. Um, as an edge
I mean,
rusher outside of TJ Watt, he's a fourth
yeah.
most double team player since 2019, besides TJ Watt, Aaron Donald, and I think it was not Chris Jones. Who was it? JJ.
Wait, fourth most? Is it fourth most? I thought it was the second or third. Maybe
I
I'm
might
wrong.
be wrong. I might be wrong, but
Mm.
I can't think of it at the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it's the third or fourth. And
Okay,
I know
it was
Aaron
all
Donald and
top
TJ
five.
Watt are ranked higher than him, but
Yeah,
that
yeah,
goes to show you when you have a guy that double team that much, and a guy that is able to make his defense far more statistically great than their scheme shows.
hmm,
That goes to show you that this man is not just a great individual player, but really a great team player. And
yeah,
in spite of the fact that the Browns have had a lot of losing seasons, unlike us, we're the winning Browns. Um, I mean, Miles Garrett is definitely nowhere close to the reason why they're losing. And I think also I would say the same thing
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
another
I
guy.
think I think it's
But yeah,
their team is unfortunately, injury prone. It's one of those things. I think there's a lot of confusion within the organization, but from all sides, coaching, players, the GM, I think there's a lot of talent in all of them. I think they just need a season where it's like just stop this injury curse on us. I think the Cleveland Browns have a real good chance. Not making the Super Bowl, obviously not, but I think they can prove a lot this season. I'm gonna leave it at that. But I couldn't have said it better. I mean, Miles Garrett. The only reason why I put Nick Bosa on top was because I thought he was going to be more dominant this season. That's the only thing. In terms of consistency, number one, I think Miles Garrett. You can definitely put him up there. I mean,
and there's no
starting.
stopping him. That's the thing. Like, I
That's
mean,
the thing.
I think Bosa is going to be better because he's a little younger, but there's no stopping
Yeah.
Miles Garrett.
See,
So
the thing with Miles Garrett is, if you really want to beat him, you literally have to play an offense where it's a one back game, or you have two receivers run because you need that many people.
yeah,
Sometimes for the type kind of like so. I mean, I completely agree with you there. Now for number five, bit of a debate for me, but I'm gonna go with Max Crosby. I think he's proven himself so much this year as the guy to like, I mean, in the 70s when John Madden was the Raiders head coach, um, the Raiders had a reputation of being like this nasty kind of like people hated them for being nasty. Like the 85 Bears, they were nasty. The 84 Niners, they were nasty, just not known. I do want to put that out there because the 84 Niners, to me, is one of the greatest defenses in NFL history. Um, but these guys were known for being nasty, like personality wise.
and
And
shout out to
they,
Al
for some
Davis
reason,
on that. Shout out to Al Davis. He was the guy who really
yeah.
put that together. I mean,
For,
greatest
first
owner
of all,
in
Al
sports,
Davis, revolutionary owner, revolutionary owner. I mean, you think about it, a guy who's had that much impact on the NFL. It's
greatest owner
insane
I
the
think
amount
in
of
the
impact.
history of sports. Not even question. The
Maybe,
impact that he had on the team.
maybe. I
That's
mean,
not even close.
you could argue others, but maybe. I mean, Um, if you're talking about championships alone, you would say Robert Kraft, but I don't really agree with that. It's
I
NFL is just not about championships; it's about your overall effect. I mean, Robert Kraft does pull out the nice sneakers. If you, I mean, dude, I'm telling you, the
he pulls out
shoe
a lot,
closet that he has
a lot of
is
other stuff.
top notch, top notch. I wish Bill Belichick used some of those because man, he needs a better closet. But at 70 years old, he doesn't. He's making himself look like 90. You know, sometimes with the clothes that
Belichick,
he wears.
Bill Belichick being when the guy at Nike at the Nike store comes up to him, "Hi Bill, what would you like as your new sneakers?" We're on to new sneakers. It's
Yeah,
not about the
no,
past, not
yeah,
about the
yeah.
present.
It's like, hey Bill, what do you want to run here? Look, we're on to Cincinnati. That's all we're gonna do. Okay, we're on to Cincinnati. That's all we're gonna do right now. Okay. Hey, what do you think about the quarterback situation? I said that I love seeing Bill Belichick,
Yeah,
man,
Bill
with all the interview
Belichick's
stuff.
awesome, man.
Some of the best. But I'll come back to the point. Mr. Max Crosby. I mean, he defines the Raider. He's nasty. Brute force. Comes to him, and I really feel bad that he's on such a horrible team from a defensive standpoint. But he's an amazing player. He has great strength. He doesn't exactly have the agility, but he matches up with his hands and his placement, which is not talked enough when it comes to defensive ends and defensive linemen in general. He has a great thing of where McGinnis, he talks about this where if he was one of the best edge setters. You know, the people talk about set the edge. He's one of the best edge setters of all time. He would say you have to beat the offensive lineman not by speed of like you're running to him, but with your hands. If you beat him with your hands, you win. Right? If I take both of my hands and immediately place it on the offensive lineman on both his shoulders, I win that game with between me and him, not the entire game, obviously, but between me and him. Because the moment I have full possession, I can twist him, I can throw him, I can do anything I want. You know, at that point, he's a sack of potatoes. So literally, so if I can take him and I can just move him anywhere I want, Max Crosby has that ability to kind of force upon those players, especially in film. You can see those two hands being always used. So from I've studied film quite a bit on him, so I'm able to give that type of analysis behind that. But there are a million other things you could say about him. Obviously, he's not Nick Bosa or Miles Garrett level because he's not able to transfer everything he can to make his team go from like a horrible defense to an okay defense. But I mean, fantastic player. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. I completely agree with you as Max.
That's a fifth time of you saying you said it
Yeah.
best, boy.
Hey,
How
as
about
I
you take a
said,
new transition sentence in? How about yeah, I completely agree that Max Crosby is a great player. Okay, go ahead.
well, here's the thing.
I'm
I mean,
sorry.
Max,
Go ahead.
I'm completely in agreement with you because Max
Okay.
Crosby was my number 5 guy. Like to me,
Okay. Okay.
elite tier is Micah Parsons, Bosa, Watt, and Miles Garrett, and then
Mm-hmm.
like the guy on that borderline who's ready to just jump in. That's Max Crosby. I think
Right.
this was his first
Right.
truly elite season, and I think you got more to
Mm-hmm.
come from that. But he's definitely shown that he is definitely capable of being at that number 5 position, and I completely agree with you there. I think he's only going to get better from here, and I'm
Yep.
excited to see where he lands up.
Me too.
At number 6, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with one of your favorite team's players, a guy that is very, very, very under talked about, very underrated,
Please,
but I
please,
think he deserves
please,
his
please say
flowers
it.
so much.
Please say it. Please say it.
Matthew Judon.
Let's go.
Celebrate my guy. Preach, preach. But no, I mean, here's the thing about Judon. He has gotten better and better each year that he's been in the NFL. He's had 4 straight Pro Bowls, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 4 straight Pro Bowls, all deserving. He's had 8 sacks you talk about last year, he was 4th in the league in pressures.
Keep
And
going.
well, I mean, last year he was 4th in the league in pressures. In 2022-21, he was 9th in the league in pressures.
Keep
Both
going.
times he had 40 plus pressures, and he's had
Keep going.
2 straight years of 12 or more sacks. On
Keep
top of
going.
that, he's had 9.5 and 6 sacks in
Mm-hmm.
2019 and 2020.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
And the other 2 seasons, he's had a 15 combined sacks from 2017 and 2018. Not just that,
Music to my
Judon's one of
ears.
the most technically gifted edge rushers
Yeah.
that I've seen in the league right
Oh,
now. I mean, his
Yes.
ability to use that under move of his and get around and be able
Oh,
to,
this one.
yeah, I mean,
This one
basically
inside.
just chop the guy and get
Rip. They call it the rip.
down,
Yeah, the rip
uh,
move.
to be able to kind of split a double team is very interesting. And I think that's a big reason as to why Belichick wanted him. He fits perfectly in his system. And I think Belichick has unlocked something in him to make him far more greater than he was at Baltimore, because Baltimore is a little more system based when it comes to their edge rush.
Baltimore is a middle blitz
Yeah,
defense, so you're
exactly.
not gonna get much out of the outside.
Yeah, you're not going to get like
That's the
big
problem.
sack numbers, big pressure numbers. But and generally, even that's generally the case with the Patriots. But I don't think Matt
Um.
Belichick has had that
Well,
type of player at his edge rusher. You know what I'm saying? Like the last guy,
really.
like the last guy really to be that type of player was a Willie McGinnis, and really as
Um.
far as that
hmm.
setting the edge with his hands, it's a similar trait that I think McGinnis has. I'm not saying that there weren't guys who had the talent before, but they didn't have the same production. Judon
Yeah.
has that,
Look.
and that's why I think
Look.
he's 6.
The only argument I can give for that is Mike Vrabel. He's not talked about enough. He's a great edge center. The only argument, but
I mean,
man,
consider like
Yash,
a true
Yash,
edge rusher.
Yash, Yash. For the first time on the show, man, I am filled with joy beyond belief that you put Matt Judon. Oh my! I'm honestly, I'm very, very happy. I'm very pleased that you did that. I'm so happy that
You
you did
want me
that.
to
From
play "It Was a
genuinely,
Good Day" by Ice Cube?
no, no. Please let this be a good day till it, and then you don't make it a bad day now. Okay, let's just keep this rolling right now. First of all, I mean, I don't want to say anything because Yash's whole everything that he said about Majudon was pinpoint perfection. From your analysis of the rip move, which is well, first of all, his best move I think in his whole arsenal. Um,
Yeah.
and then Bill Belichick. First of all, he's had a great, I think, association when it comes to outside linebackers in general. The great LT.
Runs
Nothing else to
good.
say.
Exactly.
But um, I don't know what to say. I'm very happy to just say the least. So going on from joy like that, we're going on to another player who is not as underrated as Matt Judon. Matt Judon is probably the most underrated player on the list. I think that we'll have. But I'm gonna go with Hassan Reddick. I think he does deserve the spot at number 7. I think he's transcended the Eagles' defense to a scary defense. I mean, they had what? I think they were tied or second for most sacks in the season or something like that. I mean, first of all, had a crazy season
They had
last year.
third most sacks in NFL history in a single season
This
last.
season,
The other
okay,
two were the 85 and the 86 Bears.
Bears, right? I don't know how. Like, I really don't get it. How did Buddy Ryan pull that off? Like, you're
They had a
from
ton of
eight.
talent on the defense.
I mean, still, dude, even if you have that, how does Bill Walsh not figure it out? He didn't figure it out. Like Bill Walsh didn't figure it out. Joe Gibbs didn't figure it out.
Bill
Coriel didn't figure it out.
Parcells.
No one could figure it out. That today, 46 Bear, people don't figure it out. I
Yeah.
don't know how you can be that ahead of your time. I mean, uh, that's it awes me thinking about those Bears teams. Now, coming back to Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick is kind of like Matt Judon. He's just not as big, but he's quick. Quicker. He's fast. He's really quick off the edge. Not TJ Watt level, but he's really quick off the edge, and he has good hand placement as well. Um, his best thing is probably his bull rush ability. I mean, it doesn't get recognized, but the way you saw in the Super Bowl, those tackles they weren't able to stand. The other thing was I don't know exactly what happened with the whole they were saying about the grass or the slipping and everything,
There was like a
but
turf problem.
yeah, something like that. But even then, you could see Riddick just dominating the tackles on both sides. You could just see dominance, and Mahomes was running for a reason. He only had 185 yards that game. So, but but I mean, again, it just Hassan Reddick. He's gonna be better this season, I think, because the Eagles are gonna defensively. I think they've known each other for a little bit more while, and then I think they're gonna group together well. And Hassan Reddick is gonna have a beast season, I think personally.
From a factual standpoint, I'm really, really happy you said this. And if it was before the NFC Championship game, I would have jumped out of my seat clapping like crazy. But because I'm a salty Niners fan who got unfortunately had to see Brock Purdy tear his UCL and then the pain of
Yeah. Yeah.
enduring the next 3 quarters after that, I cannot be as happy as before. But I am glad you
Okay.
put Hassan
Okay.
Reddick. He is absolutely deserving of being this high. I've been calling out that he was going to be this good of a player since his final year with Arizona. I thought that that year
Okay.
really showed me something that I had not seen before and that really improved. He really honed his skills in Carolina, and when he came to Philadelphia, he truly blossomed into the star that I'd seen in Arizona in his final year in Arizona. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm really impressed by what he's done. I'm glad you put him here. At number 8, uh, this is going to be one that it's a little bit of a toss up for me, but I'm going to go with Brian Burns. Um, actually,
Oh,
actually, no, I don't know. Oh, this is a tough one.
wait,
I don't know.
wait, Brian Burns. Look, I'm not mad about it. I did have him. I actually, personally, I had him at 9, but I'm interested to see why you put Brian Burns at 8. It's not. I mean, I don't. I'm not mad at it.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna pick Brian Burns. Yeah, I was just double checking. Yeah, I'm gonna put Brian Burns at number 8, and here's
Fair
why.
enough. Fair enough.
I was choosing between him and Trey Hendrickson. It's a
That's
very
what I was thinking.
tricky
Yeah.
one. I like Hendrickson more if you're talking about past, like what he's done in the past, right? Like if this was a list of who are the top 10 edge rushers now, I'd have Hendrickson ahead of Brian Burns. The reason I have Brian Burns in
Hmm.
a little higher than him is because he's a better run defender. He has a missed tackle percentage of 6.0, and
Nice.
he is better at being able to set the tempo in the run game, which I think is especially important for this iteration of the Cleveland or the Carolina Panthers defense. They're kind of running a bit more 3-4, and I don't necessarily trust everyone on their D line outside of Derek.
I don't trust. I don't trust literally anybody on their D line.
Right, but
I
that I
mean,
mean
Derek Brown, maybe. I don't really trust him, but
no, Derek
maybe.
Brown I like, but here's the thing: as far as everyone else, right? You're talking about a guy like say Yetur Gross Matos. He's very inconsistent. His best trait is his run defense, but that's probably it. Outside of that, you have maybe Shy Tuttle, not entirely someone you want to rely on that much. So Brian Burns is going to have to pick up a lot of slack for everybody else, right? So for that reason, I think he's
Okay.
going to be a bit more valuable for that team. Trey Hendrickson, I don't, or for the defense. Trey Hendrickson, I don't think necessarily has to be as valuable, especially from the
Hmm.
run defense standpoint. And the
Interesting.
other thing is that his pressure numbers did go down last year, which
Facts.
I'm not too concerned about, but given that he's the age of 28, the same age as guys like Daniil Hunter, and I think Dante Fowler's 28 or 29. Generally, that's around the age that edge rushers who aren't like big stars like a JJ Watt or whatever, that's when they really start regressing. I'm not too concerned about it. I think Hendrickson's an outstanding player, but it is something to keep an eye on. And for that, that's another reason I would still put Brian Burns, who's only 24 years old, ahead of him. And again, Hendrickson has better teammates, right? He has a guy like Sam Hubbard. He has a guy like DJ Reader in the run defense. He has guys like Zachary Carter who's developing, and you have a Joseph Osai behind him. You have BJ Hill. These are guys that are really outstanding players or really talented and can really pick up the slack. So he doesn't really need to do that. Yeah, so as like he doesn't have to do as much, Trey Hendrickson. So I mean, that for them from that standpoint, that's why I would say Brian Burns is 8, Trey Hendrickson's 9. I mean, you know, I mean, yeah, for that reason, I
Okay.
think Burns is younger and he is better run defender. So
Fair point. I think I've been very high on the Brian Burns train. Not when he was drafted, I didn't like it personally, but I've been very high on him after he's been in Carolina and he's proven himself, frankly. Um, for number 10, I'm gonna go with Von Miller. I mean, he's always been great. He is great. He is still really good. I think. He was that main defensive factor on that LA Rams team, other than obviously Mr. Aaron Donald himself. But I think he's one of those guys who makes the Bills defense just scary. Before Von Miller came, the idea of the Bills defense being a good defense from the edge was very much doubted. Now with him being there, there's an added pressure that comes along, especially with guys like Gregory Rousseau, who's a big, fast defensive end, who's I think a very up and coming defensive end, and maybe will soon be on the top 10. But Von Miller, I mean, goes without to say, one of the greatest outside linebackers of all time. Really did he's the one who really started going under the offensive tackle. I mean, you don't have that type of stability. Gymnasts don't have that type of stability,
He's
so
like he's
uh
flexible.
it's God given. Some of these things are just God given, and that's definitely God given talent. And without a doubt, I think Von Miller deserves the number 10 spot. Now we finished off with the defensive or edges, if we will, rankings. My favorite position. Now we're going on to running backs, and we're gonna switch it up. I've been doing all the odd numbers, and Yash has been doing all the even numbers. I'm gonna give yourself the floor today, and I'll let you start off with number one, and I will do the evens. You can do the odds. So take it away.
Okay, so number one is a pretty interesting one for me. I've had a lot of different players that I've thought about for a multitude of different reasons. Um, I'm gonna go. This is a tricky one for me, but I'm gonna go a little bit off the radar. I'm actually gonna go with ah, yeah, I'm gonna go with Nick Chubb. A lot of people will bring up either a guy like Christian McCaffrey, a guy like Derrick Henry, a guy like Saquon Barkley. For Barkley, it was considered probably the most valuable
Um,
running back last year. Henry has
okay,
probably been the best running back in the last few years, and McCaffrey is the most versatile of the bunch. The reason I chose Nick Chubb is probably because he's the most
fair.
consistent, and he has an offensive line that'll keep him from getting hit that much. Now he is getting older, which is something to be taken care of, but given the lack of, given just the volatility of the position itself and how hard it is for running backs to be that consistent for so long, I don't fully expect anybody else outside of maybe McCaffrey to be able to put up those numbers. And that's very, very dependent on whether he can stay healthy. I think he can with the Niners, but again, we have to see that for a full season. I'm not going to be too unreasonable with that. And Derrick Henry is entering his age 30 season, so that's going to be something to definitely look out for.
That's true.
Uh,
That is true.
but Nick Chubb, I think, has been one of the best running backs by almost every metric you look at. I think one or two as far as, yeah, he was number three, sorry, in PFF grade last year. He is he's been first, fourth, seventh, and third in PFF
Wow.
grade over the last in his first 5 seasons. That by itself should really just say enough. But then you really look at some of the other numbers he has as far as his rushing goes. Um, Nick Chubb has the fifth most yards after contact per rush, and the seventh most attempts per broken tackle after rush. That just goes to show you that he's constantly churning his legs, constantly being able to get out tackles, and really it also shows, which is a lot of people's myth. A lot of people say that it's this offensive line that gives him a lot of opportunities. That's not even close to the case.
Yeah.
He's incredibly talented in the receiving game that too, which is not he doesn't get to do a lot. But like I said with Myles Garrett, he's one of the only reasons the Browns are really any sort of relevant.
Anything. They're really anything from an offensive standpoint. They're unfortunately because of those injuries, Deshaun Watson, the whole mess. It is there that so now the Cleveland Browns. I'm really hopeful. Actually, this past April, um, for the first time in my life, I actually got to go to an NFL stadium,
Really.
and it was to an completely empty Cleveland Brown stadium, and one of those moments that I really like because I've always had a liking towards Mr. Paul Brown and the entire start of those Cleveland Browns. So it's interesting you bring up Nick Chubb. I just get remembered in April how I really enjoyed thoroughly going there. But well, I didn't exactly have Nick Chubb at number one, but I'm not at all mad. I think he definitely deserves a lot more respect. Age is the factor too, but I think he's a great player by any measures. Great all around player, to be honest. He just hasn't had an option to show it. One player who has the option to show it, and I feel he's the second best running back in the league going into this NFL season is going to be Mr. CMC 23. I think he is really going to be the guy not only is he the most versatile, I think personally he's the most valuable running back in the entire game. Um, Most valuable for his team. I may add that. CMC, the thing is that he does not all running backs can do. Not gonna say no other, but not all running backs can do. Receive. First of all, how many running backs have you seen throw a dime? I
Yeah.
don't think many. No, that's one thing. Number two, the ability to block, run. First of all, the speed, like the change in speed, change in direction from Christian McCaffrey's standpoint is just bar none. Number one. Number two, I think he's very talented. Well, obviously he's very talented, but like I think people don't recognize how smart he is. I think he really sees the game from a different lens. He sees it from like a fullback and like a tight end and a running back. You know, he sees it from so many positions. On a receiving standpoint, he's the best receiving back in the game right now. I'm not sure if you want to argue with that. I hope you don't because it's your boy, but um, I think he's the best receiving back in the game. I think he's the most whole. I think he's like if you want a whole picture of a running back, he's the closest in that standpoint. So CMC 23, number two. That's mine. What about number three?
This one's gonna shock you. This might blow your socks off, blow your shirt off, whatever.
Please, please no.
Andre Stevenson. This is one that really
Wait, look, what? You're messing with my emotions here. I see what you're doing. You're trying to mess with my emotions here. You're trying to put that Patriots player in so that I don't act like I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna go crazy. You can't. Okay, as much as he is my guy, he can't be number three, man.
look, I like I said, when it comes to running backs, this is probably the most volatile position. You can never know what happens with the running back. One year you can draft David Johnson in fantasy football. For all my fantasy football guys, by the way, shout out to my AP Human Geo teacher, Ms. Zwanich, for having a
Mine too. Mine
fantasy
too.
football league meeting with her family today. Um, I gave her the recommendation of picking a receiver instead of a running back first because that always helps. The one year I picked a running back was
Yeah,
Johnson.
in fantasy, yeah,
He
fantasy,
screwed me
yeah.
over. I and that's partially because of how volatile that running back position is. So that's why I'm not gonna go with any of the like the normal picks for number three at running back. I'm gonna go with the young guy who has been probably the most underrated running back in the game. When you talk about
That's facts. That is facts. That
receiving,
is facts.
when
That
you
is
talk about his
facts.
receiving threat, I mean, he is so underrated in that sense. He has 8.8 attempts for broken tackle, which is the fourth best in the entire league. He was number 11 in PFF grade last year, top 10 in running back grade, top 10 in pretty much every other advanced metric for running backs. And he would have probably had the most, he probably would have had the most, this at least top five as far as rushing yards had he got more touches of the ball. Obviously, we know Belichick likes to run a little bit more of a system when it comes to his running backs. But I mean, this was the backup running back for the New England Patriots, and he had
Yeah, it
2.1
was.
yards after contact per
It
attempt.
was. It was.
That just goes to show you that really, if he gets more opportunities, he's just going to get more and more and more and more yards. There's really nothing else. There's really nothing else I can say about that. He's just that talented.
And as they say in Britain, you cheeky little man, you cheeky little man. Oh my God, you got my emotions, man. You got my emotions. I would have roasted you right now had I not been a Patriots fan. But look, Ramondre Stevenson, as look, I really liked him. I remember that preseason game where he had 160 yards, and I thought he was going to be a great player, and I think he is. Does he deserve the number three spot? Definitely not. In my book, definitely not. But I do understand from a volatile position aspect. Problem is, I think from the Patriots' offensive standpoint, it's not going to be an offense where it's a check down, throw down type offense. I don't think it's going to be this season. it has been in previous seasons. So from that standpoint, I don't think you're going to see Ramondre Stevenson from a receiving
But this is where I disagree with
angle.
you. This is where I would say that you remember what happened with Corey Dillon, where you remember
Yeah,
the whole thing where
yeah.
Belichick said, "Oh, we'd love to have a feature back," and Corey Dillon
Sure.
ran 1,600 yards. That's what I think Ramondre Stevenson. I think Stevenson has proven how
But
good he is,
he's a
and I think
different build.
Belichick's going to give
He's a
him that.
different build. He's a different build though,
Fair
and
enough.
it's a different offense with a completely different offensive line. They had Gronk being the tight end, who was literally an offensive lineman when it came to a blocking perspective.
Right.
You don't have that now, so there are differences. But I don't think he deserves number three. But I mean, I don't mind. Belichick's boys is number three. I don't mind. Now number four, I'm gonna go with I think who should have been number three. I'm gonna go with Saquon Barkley. We've talked about this guy before. New York Giants are not the New York Giants. Brian Dable is not Brian Dable. Joe Shane, who's my favorite GM in the entire NFL. He's not. They're not anything without Saquon Barkley. He molds the offense together. He gives confidence to the defense. One of the spoken leaders, if you will, of that offense. I mean, he really does set the bar high. He's because he's really good in the receiving aspect, dominant when it comes to the running aspect. The Giants are nothing offensively without their run offense, I think, to offset what defenses do. I think run offense is one of the most important parts about an offensive game because it allows you to have leverage. It allows you to confuse defenses. What's going to come up next? The Eagles didn't expect 38 points from 185 yards from Patrick Mahomes. That's because they were able to run the ball consistently. I think that's one of those things you saw in that Super Bowl where running the ball did become important. But that's my standpoint on Saquon Barkley. I think he deserves number four. I thought he deserved number three personally, but it is what it is. I think number four is a pretty good spot.
That's fair. I had him as my number four running back. Number five, I'm gonna go with a guy that's completely off the radar that you wouldn't really think of. I'm gonna go with Lamar Jackson.
Stop it. Stop it.
I'm kidding.
Dude, stop.
I'm
Oh
kidding.
my.
I'm kidding. You know my Lamar's my
Oh,
guy. But no,
oh,
in actuality, I'm
oh.
Las Vegas Raiders, Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, thank
No, I mean,
you.
what to me was the best as far as just his consistency in the game. I think McCaffrey was an overall better player at the position because he was doing things outside of just running the ball elite. As you said, he's probably the best. He is the best receiving running back in the game.
Yeah, yeah.
He is that good as a receiver. Thousand club, book it. And he's gonna have 20 touchdowns. Also book it. I don't care what you say. Regardless, Jacobs, on the other hand, he is probably that type of talent. He's not gonna get there, no doubt. But because just of how many touches you have to have of the ball in order to be able to do that. And because Josh McDaniels is not exactly the greatest coach ever. But and the fact of the matter
Watch
is
it. Watch it. I'm telling you, just watch. Just watch. Just wait 3 years. You may see something. Okay, go
I'll
ahead.
see something if he goes back to New England, sure. But
No, 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 no. Hey, chill, chill. Just wait. Just wait. You ain't seen nothing yet. Go ahead.
all right, fine. But with Josh Jacobs, yeah, I mean he's really underrated as far as his ability to take contact. Third in the league last year in yards after contact per attempt. And he was the number one running back according to PFF. Had the number one run grade of any player according to PFF. And as far as his run grade goes for next gen stats, he was top five in that for majority of the year and finished top three. So he was getting better as the year went on and really was the bell cow of that team, especially even though Devontae Adams was still putting up the same numbers that he was, and Derek Carr at
Yeah,
that point
still.
was having a career year when it came to passing numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Although he wasn't the same efficient.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Jacobs was really the main factor of why that offense was running. So to me,
Facts.
I think Jacobs, being only 24 years of age, he still has a little bit more to go before the unfortunate decline of running backs happens to him. But I
Yeah.
think
I
he's
mean, yeah, I mean, look, I just have to say one thing, 1,600 yards.
yeah.
What else you got to say? In the NFL of today's age, 1,600, crazy. Um, Thank God you have him at number five. When you said Lamar Jackson, I had a heart attack. So moving on to number six. I'm gonna go with. I think you would have thought I would have taken this player, but I'm not. I'm gonna go with Austin Eckler. You can say what you want. You can say what you want. Look. You can't refute that. I'm joking. I'm joking. Relax. Chill. I'm not taking Austin Eckler at number six.
Okay.
Even though he's my guy, I'm not
You
taking
did
him at
that as
number
a you
six.
did that as a revenge for the Lamar Jackson joke,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah. I'm not taking him at number six yet. I'm not taking him at number six yet. I will eventually. I'm gonna go with Derrick Henry. You put me in a spot where I'm taking all the normal guys, but I am gonna go with Derrick Henry. Look, he's been more dominant than any other running back for the past 4 seasons. He's consistently been the scariest running back in the NFL. I mean, he's, I mean, first of all, just the body. Like he looks like Superman in a running back form. Like he looks really scary. It reminds me really of Shaq in the paint in the 2000 Lakers. Derrick Henry can run the ball through you, outside of you, anywhere he needs to run the ball, he will run the ball. He's that type of player. I mean, goes without saying. I mean, I think you really can't say anything about the guy. The guy is on another level. 2,000 yards in a season, by any means, at any time, is just an incredible number to reach. So, 2,000 yard running back. I mean, I'm still in awe of how he's able to pull that off, and no one talks about it enough. No one talks about it enough. But Derrick Henry at number six, I think he's deserving of it.
Yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry, you always have the concern about whether Derrick Henry is going to regress or not, being how running backs, regress at around that
Mhm.
age. But he's extremely physical, and yet he's still been able to take that many hits and still dominate the league. And he has declined a little bit over time. But I mean, like how Tom Brady, his regression is like this much compared to the average quarterback, which is this much. I mean, that's the same thing goes with Derrick Henry. They're really only four running backs in the history of the game that I've seen, or that I can think of off the top of my head at least, that had that type of longevity where they could continue
Yeah.
time. Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, Marshawn Lynch, and Adrian Peterson. Barry Sanders,
Okay, actually, hold up. What happened to Emmitt Smith?
Emmitt Smith. Here's the thing about Emmitt Smith that's interesting actually. Emmitt Smith really started declining at some point around, you know,
Didn't he have
99.
like 10 straight 1,000 yard seasons?
Yeah, but he was 30 by that point. That's what I'm saying. By the time he's 30, he's
Yeah.
regressing to that
No,
bad.
no, no. But 10 straight 1,000 yard seasons has to mean
Okay,
consistency,
okay, I get what
Jack.
you're saying. Okay, yeah, but he was 30 what I'm saying, right? By the time you're 30, you
Fine, sure,
fine.
sure.
With
Okay,
these
fine.
others guys, they didn't, right? And that's the same thing I'm hoping
Fine. Okay.
for Derrick
Fair,
Henry.
fair, fair, fair point. Fair
We
point. I
might.
give it to
I
you.
mean, Lynch had that. Adrian Peterson had that, despite immense amount of hits they took. Adrian Peterson had a
Yeah,
ACL in
yeah.
2012 and still
AP man, that is.
dog. But like that's what I'm hoping.
Ready for this? AP was harder than our AP test. How about that one, huh?
Yeah. He was the true AP. He was the
Yeah,
advanced placement. Um,
yeah.
I mean, yeah. So I completely agree with you there. Seven. I'm gonna go with. Ooh, you put me in a tough spot here. Actually, I'm gonna go with Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, I think, is
Ooh,
the probably the most
okay,
slept on
fine.
running back when it comes to
Yeah.
his like consistency. He was in the last three of the past 4 seasons, he's been top 10 in PFF grade. The only season where he hasn't, he was 11th, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. He's been top 10 in running back grade. He's been top 10 in practically every stat when it comes to being able to break tackles and being able to help the team in short yardage situations. He almost always has a good amount of touchdowns outside of this past season. He had 6 touchdowns in or he had 9 touchdowns in 2020, 16 touchdowns back in 2019. And he's a very, very underrated receiver, always having about 7 to 9 yards per reception. Um, I think the Packers are going to have to rely on him a little bit more, given the fact that Jordan Love is still going to be developing. It's going to be his first like actual time, with the football. So from that standpoint, I think Aaron Jones is going to be definitely, a lot more valuable to this Packers team.
Now that you've put Aaron Jones here, you've put me in an even tougher situation. Um, See, guys, the thing is, we never discuss what we have. What we do, we just put it out there. So now it's making us think even more, just like you guys. So I hope at least you guys are thinking about this just as we are. I'm gonna put Jonathan Taylor. I think Jonathan Taylor. I hope he stays with the Colts. I hope Jim Irsay does something about it. Um, I think he's gonna have an if with Shane, Steichen there as the head coach, I think he'll have a much better season. The offense line is gonna improve. I think they have a great offensive line coach there personally. I think they're gonna improve a lot this season as an overall offense, and I think Jonathan Taylor is gonna be the real guy behind that. I remember 2 years ago, the New England Patriots had the scariest defense in the NFL going into Indianapolis, and everybody was like what's Jonathan Taylor gonna do? He's gonna kill you apart. That's what he did to us, and it was one of the worst days of my life. I remember seeing that game. I said we lost against the Colts. The Colts. We lost against the Colts, and I felt pain watching that. Just Jonathan Taylor killing us, and it was one of those horrible days for me as a Belichick fan. But look, I think that he has great talent. I hope the running back situation gets better, but I think at number eight, it's a good spot.
Let me ask you this: would you have kept Jonathan Taylor above Aaron Jones?
Yes.
Is it okay if I switch Aaron Jones to number 9? Because I had a guy in 7 that I completely forgot about that I think should be 7 and could be even higher. That being
Okay,
Tony
so
Pollard.
if you're putting so go you know what? Okay, put Aaron Jones at 9, and then whoever's at number 7, and then I'll go take number 10. But okay, I want to
Tony
hear this.
Tony Pollard. I mean, this is a guy who in the past 2 seasons
Respect,
has been top 5
respect. I'll give it
every
to you.
running back metric. I can't believe I forgot about him. But this man has been, he's been top 5 in practically every running statistic.
Yeah,
He's got
yeah,
more.
fine.
He had 2.6 yards after contact per attempt, and he's one of the best receiving backs in the game too. Really, the only concern is the injury that he had, but he should be fine going into the season. So I'm not too concerned about that. He's been getting more touches of the ball as his career's gone on, and he's been able to take each challenge with him and embrace that like crazy. I mean, there's really not much I can say about him. He's probably going to be the main factor of this Cowboys team because
Yeah,
of the
offense.
live
Cowboys offense.
of yeah,
Cowboys
because
offense.
like the inconsistency. I don't want to say unreliable, inconsistency of Dak Prescott,
Yeah.
at least last year. So from that standpoint, I would think Cowboys are definitely going to put Pollard a lot more in the.
Okay, I think that's a very great pull that you put Tony Pollard at number 7, number 9, Aaron Jones, and Jonathan Taylor at 8. This suits me better. I like this bit more of a but. And now I'm gonna put the guy I was talking about before, and I think he deserves it. Number 10, I'm gonna go Austin Eckler. I really don't think if you're gonna have an overreaction about it, get out, do something with your life. Make some use of it. Go to McDonald's and get some help if you will. I mean, seriously, I mean, no, no, you're not Austin Eckler. I'm gonna be the Brandon Staley guy. I'm gonna tell you exactly what happened last year. Justin Herbert does not get enough credit for this. Man had a rib injury against the Kansas City Chiefs, almost beat the champions of the NFL. He had an injured offensive line. He had no receivers pretty much for 10 weeks, if you will. The only other guy he could rely on was an Austin Eckler. And Austin Eckler this season, was it his most outstanding season? No, but he did every single thing a running back could have done. He blocked better than most running backs. Most running backs did. He was extremely good in the receiving end. Justin Herbert at a point, if you have rookie receivers trying to run routes and adjust to things that you don't expect, running back has so much to do. He blocked well. He ran the ball well. You have to give credit. I mean, until that Cleveland Browns game, our running game was completely demolished in terms of the media. Stephen A. Smith, if you're watching this, don't you dare talk about my guy again. Deserves to be fired. Watch this season. He's gonna smack you right in that face, make you cry on first take. I'm telling you right now. Don't you dare do that again. Um, sorry, that just had to. I had to say that. I had to say that. Stephen A. Smith, how dare you? Look, Austin Eckler came in and he showed up when they needed it most. He was receivingly, and from a receiving standpoint, amazing. I mean, like this guy has to be at number 10, because the impact that he has on this team. Going in that Cleveland Browns game, they were demolishing our run game. I forgot to talk about this. 172 yards right in your face. What are you gonna say to that? 172 yards on the run. Miles Garrett was on that team if I remember correctly. I'm just saying. So I mean, from that standpoint, I think like Austin Eckler, number 10, completely deserving of it. I personally would have put him at number 9, but at number 10, I think it's a fair enough spot, and I think it's a good spot.
Yeah. I mean, from a versatility standpoint, I think the only guy who's better than him in that standpoint is
CMC.
Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with this at all. Um, but yeah, I mean, this was an interesting list given the fact that we had a lot of different breakout players and a lot of standard players. But speaking of
Yeah.
breakout players, we're gonna go over our breakout players for time purposes. We're only gonna go with one. Um, for this for this specific video, I think we're gonna go with our linebacker position. The reason I'm saying that is because Akilish had something that he wanted to piss me off about, and I'm intrigued about this. I want to know
Really, really. Okay. For time purposes, I am going to keep it nice, sweet, and short. I'm going to go into Kobe Dean. I think he is the breakout linebacker of the season.
Okay, I'm not
Uh,
mad at that. I'm not mad at
I think the only reason why I thought you would be mad about that is because I mean 38-16. I mean Brock Purdy going out third straight
Shut
quarterback in the
up!
league, NFC
Shut
Championship.
up! Don't ever mention his name
I'm
again.
just I'm just saying
I'm
I'm
gonna
just
send Will
saying.
Smith to your house. I'm gonna send Will
Okay,
Smith to your house,
look.
smack you,
I'm
and
just
then
I'm just
keep my quarterback's name out your mouth.
Really? You're telling me the guy who doubted Mr. Brock Purdy coming in after the Miami Dolphins game is telling me the guy who told he's going to be the Tom Brady for the 49ers. You're telling me to stop saying Mr. Brock Purdy. Now
Keep
I'm
my
definitely no no no
quarterback's
no.
name out your bleeping mouth.
Okay. Now I seriously muted that. Look, Brock Purdy, I'm not going. The only reason why I thought you would be mad was because of the 49ers Eagles game. Nakobe Dean, first of all, I think he's had enough time to evaluate and see what he has to do. And I mean, honestly, stop calling the Eagles the Eagles. The Eagles are literally the Georgia defense and then a couple of other offensive dudes from other colleges. So that's really who they are. Their entire defense is just Georgia. Like, I mean, it's first of all, I mean, Georgia, amazing job when it comes to scouting these players and recruiting these players. But like I think Nakobe Dean's he's gonna have a standout season. He's gonna make tackles everywhere on the field. Yeah, I mean, I think so. Yeah, I think he's the breakout player.
I'm gonna go a little bit more off the radar. A guy that I did not have a high grade on when he came out of college, but has really impressed me ever since. I mean, I thought he was going to be good at coverage. I did not think he would be this good as far as his just leadership and just field general ability. And that's going to be Bengals linebacker Logan Wilson. I've been really impressed by what I've seen from Wilson over the last 3 years. His missed tackle. I mean, let's just start off with the massive improvement he's had in most of his numbers. He had a near 20-point grade jump in PFF grade and a near 10% grade or near 10-point grade boost in his linebacker grade per next gen. That just doesn't happen that much unless you are a really good linebacker who's ready to take that step to being elite. I don't know if he's going to necessarily
Yeah,
be an elite linebacker, but he's
is that a
definitely.
breakout? I'm just saying. You think he's gonna break out more than he already has? Like getting up
Yes.
that.
Yes, because let's be honest, nobody's going to sit here and say, "Oh, I think Logan Wilson's a top 10 linebacker." I think
No,
based
sure,
on the way
sure,
he's playing,
fair.
I think he could end up being that by the end of the year, by the end of next year. That's what I've seen from Logan Wilson as far as his ability to cover tight ends and
Fair. That's
receivers,
a
and
that's
as
that
far as
that's
his
a very good
ability
point.
to be able to get to backs in the run game and being able to tackle them. This is another
Mhm.
thing that really impressed me though about Logan Wilson. As far as just his missed tackle percentage, it dropped by 7% in the last year. Logan Wilson
Mhm.
did not play that much in his rookie season, But last year,
Fair.
obviously, he started 13 games, including the Super Bowl, where there was a
Yeah.
notoriously horrible call against him. Um, but he had an 11.5 missed tackle percentage. So even if you
Yeah.
thought that was a hold, I wouldn't be shocked if he had made that hold on accident, like because it was hard
Yeah.
to keep up.
Mm.
With this, I mean that's a story for a different day though. With this, a
Yeah.
7% missed tackle percentage and being in that 90th tier of players, that really shows me that okay, you're willing to that really shows me that you're kind of coordinated. You know what your job is, and like Bill Belichick says, always execute. That's the
Do
big
your job. Do your job.
do
Do
your
your
job.
job.
And I
Do
mean,
your job and do
all
your
the
job
players
well. That's what he says. Yeah.
exactly. And I mean, he's not the only guy on that defense, on that linebacker core in general, that could break out next year. Jermaine Pratt was one of the top 10 linebackers according to most
Yeah.
analytical metrics. And although I wouldn't consider him a top 10 linebacker, if he
Yeah.
continues to
Yeah.
play
I
like
think he will. Yeah.
yeah, if he
You could
continues
I
to play
think
like how he did last year, and you have that defensive line and that secondary, Logan Wilson is going to definitely be able to have the opportunity to fully blossom into the player that he's shown me that he has the potential to be. Not the player that I thought he'd be out of college, but that's exactly kind of what makes me impressed by him and what makes me think that okay, he can break out even more.
look, I mean, I think Nakobe Dean and Logan Wilson are both fantastic players, and I just personally think Nakobe Dean has just more upside because we haven't seen him play yet in an NFL game at that position. But look, I think we both thoroughly enjoyed this episode. This was a good episode, a lot of back and forth, a lot of fighting, if you will, and but all for fun. And I hope you guys also had fun watching us. Um, we are obviously under a time constraint, so we are having to finish this up a bit quickly. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. We have. I know we have enjoyed this video. And hopefully we'll see you guys soon.
Yeah, and as far as just episodes go, we're really trying to, kind of expand, what types of episodes we're willing to make. It's a little tough just based on kind of like our plans as far as the rankings go and as far as just what we want to do before the season entails. But I think once the season begins, we'll be able to kind of really show you a lot more of our capabilities as co-hosts of the Winning Browns podcast. It's really been fun. We're hoping to be able to get out a predictions video on Thursday before the Chiefs Lions game. Tune in for that one. That's going to be a really fun game. Very fascinating. Akilesh, you're muted. Um, and but I mean, we're gonna give our prediction.
Man, I'm talking like mimes here, bro. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
I'm sorry, guys. Look. My computer has a problem where it auto mutes it for some reason. So I will fix that, guys. I will get back to that. But I think Yash, I think we're about to sign off, baby, on this one.
yep. I
All
mean,
right. Hey, see you guys. Subscribe, like, do whatever you can to promote the
please
channel.
leave comments down below, please, guys.
Yeah.
It really that we really would appreciate feedback. But thank you guys so much for your support, and we hope to get a video on Thursday. See you
Thursday.
guys then.
Tune in. Tune in Thursday. All right, guys. See ya.